Welcome to Online Resource. In this video we are going to learn how to validate or verify cluster configuration. In this demo we will be learning how to add multiple node to cluster for validation. Number 2, how to learn all test on all added node for cluster validation. And keep in mind that if you creating new cluster brand new, you need to add all the nodes that you have prepared to be in the part of this cluster. So please add all those node and run all test again those node, and that is recommended. So let's go ahead and in my case I have TBS node 1 and TBS node 2. These are my two node in the cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and use cluster failover cluster manager on any of those node that you have added as a part of the preparation of those node to be in cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and choose TBS node 1. I can go ahead and I'm using Windows 2012 R2. So in my case, if I click on server manager, I can go ahead and open up by clicking tools and click on failover cluster manager. I can go ahead and I'm using Windows 2012 R2. In my case, if I click on server manager, I can go ahead and open up by clicking tools and click on failover cluster manager. Once the failover cluster manager comes up, you need to right click failover cluster manager and click on validate configuration. And a wizard up here, you need to click next and add all the nodes that you have prepared for this cluster. In my case, I have TBS node 1, so I'm going to go ahead and click add. This is also the verification if whatever you knew that you using, in my case TBS node 1, if failover cluster can connect with node 1, then it will be given an error right here. But in this case, as you can see right here, only I think that provided host name, it got the total domain name, fully qualified domain name from that host name. So that means it can communicate with TBS cluster TBS node 1. With this node I am going to go ahead and put another my other node TBS node 2 and click on add. As you can see, a little verification goes up here. That means that it's checking checking it's going to, it has the communication and it can connect all the nodes that I'm adding right here. Let's go ahead and click next. As you can see, what I was talking about, if you creating new cluster brand new, you really need to run all the tests that is recommended, and you have an option, click on run if you are adding a node, disk, or anything. Just one resource in your cluster need to run test against that only. You can go ahead and click run only test that I select, that let you run the selected test. But for new cluster, it is recommended to run all the tests, and in this demo we are going to go ahead and run all the tests that is recommended. So click next, and here is the report that it's going server that it's going to run the test for this to my node TBS node 1 and TBS node 2. So this is the server right here, and on going to go ahead and click next, and it's started verification and validation of the cluster. Keep in mind that if you run into an issue, if this validation faces any issue, that is going to be of trouble for you when you create the cluster. It is going to give you error and it will not let you create the cluster. So this is one good thing about the validating and configuration of cluster. When you're creating cluster brand new, you cannot skip this step. Without this step will not be able to escape to create the cluster. So validation is going to take some time. I will go ahead and pause the video. Once the validation is completed, I will be back. Already you can see that failover cluster validation report is completed. Look at the report. And as you can see that we have completed everything successfully. This is the kind of the report that you like to see in your production. Keep in mind that if this cluster is going to be your production environment, you need to make sure that if you choose any warning, you need to take care of that, or warning you must have to really sure that to go ahead with the warning. So in our case right here, there is no warning, there is no error. In case of error, it will not be create the cluster basically. Cluster, so everything passed successfully. I wanted to show you a couple things right here. Network, if you click on network, uh, and this is the network that we have configured, external and private. If you look at the bindings, that is more important. The private bindings right here need to be up and top, and it does verify. You can see that on both nodes that we have put in there, multiple nodes. This private, this is private communication between nodes, also known as heartbeat. It need to be binding on top. If you nodes, it's not it going to do, go manually go ahead and move that the binding and up, move this private on top. So you can see it's on top. Everything in this cluster is completed successfully. Now we are ready to create cluster. If you close this, it will tell you that you go ahead and create cluster now using validated node. Keep in mind, it use the word validated nodes. If you have any nodes that you have added and did not validate, you cannot create the cluster on that. You cannot, basically you need to add and validate and that particular node, and then you can go ahead and add failover cluster and have that node part of your failover cluster. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.